Hello everybody and welcome back. It's Nasta the Greek, and today we're going to start a new series that hopefully I'll continue with other projects as well. The Killer Analysis series. Now I won't be putting this in the title because I guess it'll be spoilers. But that's essentially what it is. Originally this was going to be a character analysis series, but sadly the free time events in Eva's Garden are 5 and not 4. So there's still more to know about the backstories of these characters. But I did promise to make a video about Eva, and it's not like we can do her last free time events anytime soon, unless they release a game mode where we can do all the FTEs alongside the next chapter. So until we get her final free time event, this is as much as we're getting from Eva. So, how about we take a look at her character, and what I'd like to call the self-fulfilling prophecy. Let's begin. When making, or in this case analyzing characters, I tend to look at their childhood first, especially their family situation, as this does play a big part in how the character develops later on. Sadly, we don't have that info about Eva. We do have the next best thing though, her school life. I'm not 100% sure on how school works over there, but here we had cases of junior high or middle school for you guys, and high schools being in the same building. The oldest info we got of Eva is that she joined the high school mathletics team when she was 11. Unless elementary schools are also in the same building as the rest, Eva was recruited to save the athletics high school team when she entered middle school. Due to her high intelligence, she was able to shine brighter than the rest, and she truly did save the team by winning every competition they took part in. But of course, the brighter the light, the darker the shadows. Eva, being the youngest and smartest member of her team, quickly started getting bullied by her teammates. A sad but logical fact, high schoolers can be ruthless, especially when they feel threatened by another. It's not clear if Eva was rubbing it in their faces, and according to her, she had chosen to keep to herself and not interact much with the rest, which couldn't be a worse move on her part. After all, a lot, if not all arguments, stem from miscommunication. It's very possible that her cold and distant attitude towards the others alienated her from them, and could give them the wrong impression that she's not interacting with them because they're beneath her. And this is what triggers the self-fulfilling prophecy of Eva Tsunaka. Eva is clearly someone who is hurt, someone that feels hated and in need of love. She believes that she deserves better and that everyone looks down on her, but in her attempts to change this worldview of hers, she keeps digging her own grave by acting in ways that make others dislike her. And this pattern is visible in almost all of her experiences and actions during the killing game. Eva is scared that her talent and special treatment from the school will make her classmates hate her, so she chooses to not speak much in order to avoid looking arrogant, but by doing so, she ends up distancing herself and making her teammates hate her regardless. When talking with Damon, Eva reveals that she chose her fake talent to be the liar because she felt connected to that word in a way. And we can kind of see that in the game. Eva ends up lying in multiple occasions, or at least it seems that way. In our point of view, it does seem like Eva is lying, but that's not the case for her. For Eva, lying may very well be just her trying to excuse why her life is not going the way she wants to. It's a way to convince herself that she's miserable because of factors outside of her influence, despite a lot of them being her own fault. So when Eva is trying to justify her actions or views, she just ends up coming off as a liar, because to everyone else, what she's saying is simply not true. This self-fulfilling prophecy of her being hated by everyone despite how great she is affects every part of her life, making her more and more miserable and angry at everyone else. She says how hard she tried to get her talent changed, and all the effort she went through, but in the end, she boils it down to the committee wanting to make a fool out of her, and that since no one else would take the talent, it had to be her. But is this the case? Eva may have made a lot of effort to get that talent changed, yes, but if you're a committee who has access to millions of people's achievements, and you're seeing a clear winner among them, are you going to say that they don't have talent? What's more likely the truth is that the committee saw no issue with the talent, and they truly acknowledged Eva's skills, hence why they rewarded her with this title. It wasn't an attempt to belittle her character, but an honor, but due to Eva's insecurities, she just saw this as another act of malice towards her. During her free time events, Eva tells Damon about the papers she has published after becoming an ultimate, and how because of her mathlete title, they gained no traction. But she's so convinced everyone is against her that she doesn't realize that this is how the world works. Diana is well liked, but if she published a paper about math, no one would care. There is a reason why professors and other researchers post papers, because they have a certain amount of knowledge that the average person, or even student of a field, wouldn't have. And of course, the others would be able to check and find out the writer's achievements and qualifications, which would determine if this is a paper worth the read or not. Eva was so desperate to escape the shadow of the mathlete that she couldn't see that she doesn't fail due to her being an athlete, but because she just lacks the experience. Eva was a total nerd, that much was obvious. Putting the athlete stuff aside, she played video games and TTRPGs, and she seemed to be very active in social media, where she proudly flaunted her ultimate status, yet she was still ashamed to reveal what that was. But here's the thing, there's a lot of nerds out there. I enjoy games and TTRPGs and all kinds of stuff like that. Maybe not math per se, but I'm 100% certain that I'm not alone in this. Eva's interests and hobbies could have led her to a lot of great friendships and relationships, if it wasn't for, yes, I'll say it again, her self-fulfilled prophecy. Eva felt like everyone around her hated her, pitied her. She felt like they think less of her, that she's a joke, and in turn, that inflates her ego, making her arrogant. Because she feels like she has to defend herself from everyone, she starts seeing herself as better than them, that she's above them and they just hate her because they're jealous of her and her talent. So despite her wanting to be liked, due to her false perception of the situation and others, she ends up coming off as arrogant, obnoxious, and distant, which leads everyone else to actually turn against her, thus fulfilling her prophecy of her being hated. And now, we finally enter the events of Eden's Garden. Eva arrives on the train, and just like every other social interaction, her perspective tells her that it's best to stay away from everyone. She stays quiet during the train ride and only speaks when she encounters Damon. Since he takes too long to wake up, she looks around the boiler room and as well as the storage closets. I'm not sure if that's something she came up with on the spot, but for some reason she chooses to call herself the ultimate liar, probably thinking no one could disprove the fact. Too ashamed of being an athlete, or again, thinking people would make fun of her, she chooses to lie, and that comes back to bite her in the ass. Since she goes around parading herself as some edgelord ultimate, when her secret is revealed, a good majority of the cast ends up making fun of her, the one thing she dreaded. But the thing is, that she caused this. If she had been honest from the start, if she wasn't pretending to be someone she isn't, no one would have made fun of her. Okay, maybe Grace would, but she makes fun of most people. Instead, she chose to defend herself with a lie, an action that ends up proving her fears true. Eva and Damon get singled out by Wolfgang and the rest, but as she tells Damon, even if she was lying, the fault is hers. The reason why they were singled out was because of her being an edgelord and calling herself the ultimate liar, when the ultimate lawyer is right there. Had she been honest from the start, I'm certain Wolfgang wouldn't treat her any different than the rest. And yet, her self-fulfilling prophecy keeps dragging her deeper and deeper into the ground. Eva's belief of being hated grows by the others' jokes, as well as Wolfgang's stance. She's convinced that everyone hates her and she starts hating them in return. Even if some people didn't really do anything, in her mind everyone is out to get her. She even says during the post-trial how she was certain Wolfgang would accuse her of a murder if he was alive, which, funnily enough, would be right since she did end up killing him. Judging from what she said when comparing herself to a pup in her FTEs, Eva wanted to be loved and appreciated by others, and she had every chance to get what she wanted, had she realized that things aren't as black and white as she thought. If Wolfgang and Grace could find the time to have some fun, Eva could surely get closer to Damon, who did seem to like her company. She could have bonded with Cassidy over the love for video games, or be besties with Diana, who was more than willing to understand and befriend her. And if she wanted to entertain herself with more educational conversations, Ulysses was right there. But instead she chose to make herself a villain in an attempt to protect herself from the group. If Eva wanted to be liked, she could have informed everyone of the Tozu posters, which would definitely make the others like her more if she started acting more like a team player. But she chose to keep it a secret, and she decided to play ball with Tozu in solving this equation, since she was the only student intelligent enough to solve it. When Tozu presented her with a perk, she took it willingly, despite Tozu telling her that if she doesn't kill, she'd die. She didn't have to take the traitor's perk, but her ego and her skewed perspective told her that this was the best course of action. She was certain that since people hated her, if someone wanted to kill, they'd target her right away. Even though she and Damon were the only ones who were suspicious, everyone else seemed to vibe with being there, and with Wolfgang's plan, things were going smoothly. But Eva, being a pessimist through and through, had no hope in the group surviving, so since she believed herself to be an easy target, she chose to potentially sacrifice everyone else in order to survive. She used her knowledge of the boiler room and storage room to set up the plan, and even used Damon in order for her plan to work, goading him to not tell Wolfgang about his motive, since it ruined her murder plan. She killed Wolfgang and framed Diana, one of the few people that showed her kindness in this place. But it didn't matter, because in Eva's eyes, Diana was just another bully, and she hated her. When her attempt at making Diana suspicious failed, she tried framing Damon, the other person that had been nice to her all this time. At this point, Eva is really just biting the hand that feeds her. And then, when she has finally caught, she resorted to more lies, or excuses in her case, how everyone hated her, how they would kill her, or that no one would care to investigate her death, how Wolfgang would frame her right away if someone died, or how this was all a setup by Tozu to get her killed. Excuses. So many excuses, lies that feel true in her eyes. She tries accusing them, saying that they do the same if they were in her shoes, and that they should praise her for being so honest and upfront about it, but she wasn't. Adding on the hypocrisy for the chapter title, Eva wasn't honest about anything. Only when she was cornered and voted off did she finally say the truth, or her truth. And this doesn't get any better as she starts contradicting herself, losing herself in her lies. She says she was forced to kill, yet says every one of them deserves to die just like Wolfgang did. But in the end, everything, all the hate, loneliness, misery and pain she went through, she can't blame anyone but herself. The self-fulfilling prophecy of Eva Tsunaka was her downfall. She was so certain people hated her that she became dislikable. She was convinced people thought less of her that she developed a huge ego. Due to her ego, she chose to take the perk. She chose to kill with the comfort of knowing that she's the smartest person in the room, so with Wolfgang gone, she would get away with it. But she was anything but that. Eva was not as smart as she thought, because in the end, she got played by Tozu. Eva was right about the one thing. This was his head up, and she fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Tozu plays the motive that only she could figure out. He played with her ego by giving her the option of claiming the special perk, which only reinforced her belief of being superior. Tozu said if Eva claimed the perk she would die, but as Eva herself said, he didn't specify when. I guess she wouldn't die for a good while. After all, it wouldn't be an interesting game if he got Mara to kill her. There was never a deadline on when she'd had to kill. But if someone found out about the perk and killed her for it, well, then she'd die. But she was so arrogant and hateful to see through this trick, and like an idiot she killed, got caught, and died for it. But that will be all for Eva Tsunaka's character analysis. I hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe I helped change your opinion on Eva a little bit. I must admit that this is the first time I do something like this, so a part of me is worried that I talked a lot but made little sense, so do let me know in the comments what you think of this video and if I should do more like it in the future. Until the next video though, do take care and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.